Hey, yo, Schizo Jitsu here. Welcome to MMA Grind, UFC 306 recap, the Sphere, incredible night of fights. I mean, basically all bangers up until the co-main, and we'll get to that. But just what a display of just an amazing theatrical perform. I mean, just the production. Dana White said they spent 20 million just in production alone, and you could kind of tell it was just amazing. I wish I was there. I wish I had just not been a cheap ass and just went, paid the money, drove to Vegas, and got a ticket because it was like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Hopefully they do run it back. Dana said it was a one off, but it remains to be seen because it was an incredible night. A lot of people are already asking for more. I think they should do it at least once a year. I mean, crazy visual effects from like even just the tail of the tapes. They had like the big screen in the back, having the fighters looking like two titans, Titan versus Titan, looking huge, almost like a video game type thing where just like it took up the whole screen. Like half the arena seemed like it was a screen. You had the cage, had all the seating on one side, the cage on the bottom, and then the whole other side was just a big screen and just amazing visuals. And then the ring card girls, I think they had 6 or 8 new ring card girls all dressed up in different costumes for every fight. I mean, just unbelievable. This, like, the attention to detail, I mean, you could tell it was $20 million well spent. It's a lot of money, but they made 22 at the gate, according to Dana, and with the pay-per-views on top of that, so who knows what they made, but crazy night of fights. You know what I mean? Like, all the fights were pretty much bangers. Opened up a Raw, Rosas Jr., which wasn't necessarily a banger, but it was a tough test for him, and he was able to get the decision, victory, control on the ground, and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was a good, decent opener, but after that, pretty much the rest of the card was pretty much amazing. Just crazy wars, knockouts, gashes being opened up. Irina Aldana basically turned into the bride of Chucky. You know what I mean? Like, she's going to have so many staples and a million freaking stitches after that. I mean, she's not going to look the same after this fight with, what was her name? Let me see, my bad. Norma Dumont. Yeah, Norma Dumont looked great. I mean, and that's the one thing I will get to. I want to talk about Irina Aldana and the co-main event with Alexa Grasso. They come from the same team. I feel like neither one of them had a plan B or a second game plan if it doesn't work. And something I'll get into when I break down the co-main. But Irina Aldana basically just got battered for 3 rounds. Never changed up her game plan. Came in with a boxing heavy approach, good head movement, but just all those legs. She got long legs, long limbs, and still just trying to just get on the inside and get into boxing range, into the pocket. And even when she was just getting punished every single time, she would get into that boxing range or she would land a big shot, she was looking for a left hook. Anytime she would land it, Norma would throw 2-3 shots right back at her, and really accurate, and everything was damaging. And she mixed it up, the kicks. Dumont mixed up the kicks, high, low, body. I mean, she was all over the place. And like I said, she had a dog in her because every time Irina cracked her, she would come right back and just bite down on the mouthpiece and throw like 2-3 shots right back and do a lot of damage. And Aldana needs to be able to, like, yeah, she has good boxing and stuff like that. But like I said, with those, I hate seeing wasted range and length. It's like, you have these long legs, use them. You know what I mean? Like, go out there, throw some teep kicks, throw some leg kicks even, try to slow the movement of Dumont. She was basically just chasing Dumont around or following her around the cage while Dumont was just picking her apart from the outside. And that should have been Aldana's game. She should have been picking her apart from the outside, using her range and be a more counter puncher instead of just eating shots, coming forward like a zombie and just kind of basically just coming in with this high guard. But she just got battered for 3 rounds. I mean, unbelievable performance by Norma Dumont. Obviously, Irina's tough as hell. I mean, she could take a beating. She took damage, tons of damage. Like I said, she got a big gash right here where that was a headbutt or it might have happened just before that. She was busted up everywhere. Eye was swollen, almost swollen shut from the jab. Dumont just kept popping that jab, busted her eye and her nose. Like I said, she looked like the bride of Chucky after this. Bride of Frankenstein or something like that, because she got tore up. Her face is not going to look the same after this. And she's got that whole camp. I think they got to have plan B, man. They're all good boxers there. From Diego Lopez to Grasso and Aldana, they all have really good hands. They're good boxers, but you got to have a plan B. You got to have something else besides that. When it's not working, change it up. In her corner, in between the second or third round, it's like, you got to get on the inside and do that. Like, man, it should be change it up. That's what she's been doing, and she's just still getting smashed. You know, like change it up, man. It's ridiculous. Manuel Torres, Ignacio, I can't even say this guy, Nacho Bahamondes. He was a Chilean fighter. He actually trains with Bilal Muhammad. Bilal used him in the Leon Edwards camp, and this guy has unbelievable striking. Because obviously Manuel Torres is tough, hits hard, but he was just coming in guns blazing, kind of reckless, and that little step back right hand worked 2 times, and I think it was the second round, I believe. Let me see, or it was actually the first round. Yeah, first round, towards the end of the first round, 4 minutes in, and Ignacio Nacho, let's call him Nacho Man for now. The guy just pieced him up with a perfect right hand, step back, clean down the middle, down the pipe, finished him off, and great. See a big future for that guy. He's going to get, especially working with the guys he's working with, Bilal Muhammad and stuff. I mean, he's going to get even better. He has a champ in his corner now. So I mean, that's big things coming in his way for sure. This type of stage to get a knockout like that. Hopefully he got a bonus. I'm not sure if he did get a bonus. It was shaping up to be a great fight up until then. Then this is just the prelims. There was a lot of names. Like I said in the previous video, there wasn't going to be this card either. It didn't have a lot of big names, but sometimes those cards deliver, and this was one of them. The card, you can't judge the card by the name sometimes, but by the matchups. And they put the credit to Sean Shelby and Dana and UFC to put these fights together that were bangers. Because these guys came to fight, big show, big stage. Everyone watching. I mean, star-studded crowd, and they were able to put on a show on the most part. Most of the fights were entertaining. I say like an 8 out of 10. Type of card. Still UFC 300, 303. There's some other ones that come to mind. They're bangers too, but this one was up there as well. And Yasmin Uruguay against Caitlin Sosa was another banger. That was a first round knockout from Sosa. She basically pieced her up with after both of them landed growing shots to each other, and Yasmin was actually looking good. Yasmin was looking good. She was kind of doing her thing on the outside. She wasn't doing too much grappling yet. She does have a good grappling game, but she was kind of throwing a lot of combos. But you could tell Sosa has that power. She kind of has that Jessica Andrade style, just kind of same body type and everything. I believe she hit her with a 2 and then a 3, that left hook, like a wingy left hook that just landed clean, dropped her on her ass, jumped on her back immediately to get a choke. It was kind of sideways for a second, but then basically put her to sleep. She put her out, So, and hats off to Sosa. More big things for her, obviously, too. Hopefully she got a bonus. I think everyone who got a finish should definitely get a bonus on this one because there were some bangers in this whole card. That was just one more in the prelims. Edgar Chairez and Joshua Van. That was another good one. That was a banger. They had one round where both guys got hurt, and they were just throwing bombs. Like Chairez was throwing freaking spinning back fists to hurt Van, and then Van started ripping the body, and that's what Chairez just did not like, the body shots, and Van was able to take over from that. Once he hit him in the body and kind of zapped his gas tank, I don't know if he cracked him right in the liver or the rib or what he did, but he was definitely not the same after that. Van was able to take over, and that was another banger of a fight. Went 3 rounds, went the distance, but just shows that these guys were just tough as hell. They weren't going to quit for nothing. So, unbelievable. And that'll bring us to the main card. These fights, like they did, I think you had Ronaldo Rodriguez. This is the one I wanted to watch against Ode Osborne. This fight right here, these guys were jawing back and forth in the press conference. Like a lot of slurs thrown by Rodriguez, puta madre, all that shit. He was talking a lot of shit in Spanish, trying to get the crowd. Like I say, he kind of stole the show, in the press conference. And the fight was a banger. They both had their moments. Osborne was able to get his, do a lot of submissions and get Rodriguez in danger, but Rodriguez just refused to quit, refused to lose type mentality, and just muscled, and he was throwing a lot harder shots. Not the most technical, I think he was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, but he was just throwing a lot of shots out there, and he ended up getting a decision, but it was really a good fight. It was really entertaining for all 3 rounds. It was back and forth. Both guys had moments. It was like 2-1 either way, basically, but Rodriguez did a little bit more, hit a little harder, and he got the job done there. That'll bring us to maybe the fight of the year, at least the round of the year, between Daniel Zellhuber and Esteban Ribovich. I don't know, he's an Argentinian fighter. little shorter in stature than Zalhuber, and man, this fight was a banger. These guys were going out for blood. The Chilean Esteban, that guy was just not. He had no chill in him. Everything was, he was throwing for the fences. He was trying to hit home runs on every freaking strike he threw. He was throwing bombs out there. No matter what he got hit with, he kept coming forward. He got rocked himself. There was a round where he got rocked, and then he ended up rocking Zalhuber after that. And they just kept going back and forth until ultimately, and it had a couple of fouls as well. I think they both had eye pokes or something, but But ultimately, in the third round, this was a close fight. Like, both guys had their moments. First and second round were pretty close. I could see them giving it to Daniel or Esteban. It could have went either way. Both those rounds. I mean, Esteban constantly coming forward no matter what. Like I said, swinging for the fences. Daniel a little more composed. Huber, he was throwing the kicks. He was mixing it up a lot more, a little bit more calm out there. And he was tagging Esteban as well. Like I say, he rocked him in the third. And then Esteban ultimately just cracked Daniel and just really, he was on skates. I mean, he still didn't drop. He ran into the cage a couple of times, and that dropped him. The cage actually dropped him more times than Esteban did, but he was literally out on his feet. But he was still moving around. He was still ducking and dodging. Somehow he just kept moving, kept fighting back. So the referee, I mean, he could have stopped it pretty much at any time. There was a good 30 seconds to a minute where he could have just stopped it, but Zalhuber just showed so much heart and just kept going after it and doing his thing, and ultimately he survived somehow, some way he survived that onslaught. But it was definitely fight of the night, round of the year for sure. It was round 3. It was insane. Both these guys, no quit in them. They left it all out there for sure. But ultimately Esteban got the win, which he should have. That last round could have been 10-8, but he did get rocked himself in that round. So, the last 2-3 minutes of the round, he pretty much was destroying Zalhuber. But still, you got to say that it might not have been a 10-8 just because he got rocked. So that's probably the only thing that saved it from being a 10-8. But I think it's a 10-8 in my book because 3 rounds, the guy was just pretty much, Daniel was on skates. He was on survival mode. He got lucky to survive that fight. And that brought us to Brian. First of all, I went 0-3 in this fight. I only did the co-main, the co-main, and the main. I went 0-3 in all these. 2 of these were kind of just with picks that some of my favorite fighters and kind of my heart, and not really my brain, pretty much it went the way I thought it would in all 3 of the fights. Because obviously everyone has a path to victory. So all 3 fights, it could have went either way if things would have fallen into place for each fighter. And Brian Ortega, T-City against Diego Lopez was a banger. It went 3-round war. With Diego Lopez almost finishing Brian Ortega right off the bat, a minute into the fight, hits him with a sweet 2-3. I think he likes that combo because he landed a couple times where he throw that 2 and then that left hook but stayed with a good guard. So he's defensively responsible. Boom, boom, cracked Ortega, and I thought and the TV froze right at that time. I was like, what happened? I thought it was over. I thought it was done. I was like, no, this is it. So I turned it real quick, put it back, and all of a sudden it's working again. I was like, oh shit, it's working. And Ortega was sitting there on his back trying to throw up submissions and do all this and that. Somehow he survived. I don't know what. Ortega still showed he is tough as hell, has a crazy chin, a heart of a lion, honestly. He should be Lionheart, you know what I'm saying? But he was throwing up some submissions here and there. But obviously, Diego Lopez he's well-versed as well on the ground. He looked way bigger in there. I don't know how much weight he cuts or whatever, but he looks just awesome shape. He looked bigger than T-City, looked stronger, faster, all that. We kind of knew that, but Ortega did have moments. It's not like he just got off on the back foot. That first round could have been a 10-8 against him right there. Because he got dropped and almost finished. And then 2 times, I think, in that round, it kind of seemed like he was almost finished. He got dropped again and Diego Lopez throwing some vicious ground and pound. Second round came out. T-City did a lot better. You could tell Diego Lopez probably blew his wad, emptied the tank a little bit in the first round, and was kind of maybe just taking that round off, taking it easy, throwing leg kicks. So for crazy, Brian Ortega did check 3 or 4 leg kicks, but it seemed like it didn't even matter because Lopez was still hitting him in that right spot where Ortega's leg was thrashed. He got dropped from a leg kick a couple times, I think, and then he literally had like a baseball, softball type thing on his shin, you know, so you could tell he was checking him because where it was at, it was like right in the front, and it was lumped up. It was bad. And Lopez just, so like, even though his kicks were getting checked, he was still doing more damage to Ortega. And ultimately, I think Lopez won all 3 rounds. The second round was kind of going towards T-City, but until he got dropped with a leg kick. And then, you know, like, so it was kind of still back and forth. It was kind of a closer round, but third round, T-City came out. Like, you could tell he had that intent to try to finish the fight. His corners telling him, you need to finish. And he went out there and tried, you know, he really did. But then, you know, Diego Lopez put in another gear, and he stood and banged, and he landed that 2-3 combo again and rocked Ortega again and had him hurt and almost finished. And like that's the thing about Diego Lopez, man. A lot of fighters would have just chilled, and we'll get to that in the co-main, do whatever it takes to win type thing, boring or not. But this guy was still guns a-blazing, trying to finish the fight with 30 seconds left after he had already won the fight. He had it in the bag. He didn't need to go out there and lay it all on the line like that. That was like a Max Holloway type fighter right there, a moment where he's still trying to go after it and get the finish. But of course, we all know T-City's crazy as hell. I mean, he's got an unbelievable chin, and I think that's just his mindset as well. He's got a strong mind where he's just not going to give up no matter what you throw at him. And he was still in there till the end. Barely finished the fight a couple of times, you know, like he almost got finished, but he still hung in there. You know, so I mean, he got beat up for sure, but he was still right there. You know, so he still made it to the end of the fight. And but hats off to Diego Lopez. Star is born. That was like number 12, I think it was, against number 3, something like that. 13-3. You know, so I mean, definitely big things got to become for Diego Lopez. He has to have a top 5 opponent after this. He's just been killing it. You know what I mean? And impressive fashion. His last fight against Dan Ige, he literally had to cut weight 3 times. So it wasn't his best performance, but he was definitely not at his best. This fight after training camp, I mean, he just destroyed. I mean, and, you know, Ortega just had better days. Hopefully he come back from this, and, you know, there's still probably some fun fights for him in featherweight, so we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, that brings us to the co-main. You know, after all this, I'm almost out of breath just talking about how exciting these fights were. And the co-main event just basically took the air out of the card, probably out of the building, you know, just really, man, it was ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong. Hats off to Valentina. She did what she had to do to win, but she really played it safe here. Nothing but takedowns, lay and pray type of thing, staying Grasso's guard for 5 rounds. And, like, kudos to her. Like I said, she did what she had to do. You know, they fought 2 times already. This was a trilogy. So it's kind of like who learned what from both those 2 fights and made the adjustments. Obviously, Valentina learned that the success that she had in the first 2 fights was pretty much with the takedowns and the wrestling game, you know, and staying away from submissions, because she did get tapped in the first fight. You know, that was on the ground, obviously. She got rear naked choke. The second fight, she almost got tapped at the end of the fight. The 5th round, she had the same thing. She had Grasso on her back for a rear naked choke, but she was controlling a lot of the fight with takedowns and at least not doing any damage very much. Not very much damage at all done in this fight. You know, there's a couple good punches here and there landed. But, you know, and Grasso, you know, like I said, she really didn't do anything in this fight. Like, she threw up some kind of just baseless freaking submissions here and there, had a triangle, like an inverted triangle at one point with the Kimura type, like a 2 submission type thing at the same time. And also threw up a couple arm bars and a regular triangle. But they really were just kind of like rudimentary efforts, you know, basic mistakes and, you know, almost elementary. Like I don't know, you don't just throw your legs up into that position and then grab the arm and try to pull it. You got to control the arm first, then you throw the legs over, especially with a triangle. Like, you can't, in the arm bar, it looked like, oh, dang, she's in danger. Even when she had her in a guillotine, it's like she's going back this way with it. You got to crunch in. That's one thing I learned early in my jiu-jitsu, you know, training, was you got to kind of, not early enough, but you kind of got to crunch in. You got to constrict the air. You know, there was space there everywhere because you're pulling away. You're putting space there. You need to kill all that space if you want to get the blood chokes. You know what I mean? You got to almost constrict onto them. A boa constrictor, you know, like you got to constrict and tighten up everything around it. That's how you cut off the blood. You don't pull away and allow space right there. So there was never really too much danger for Shevchenko because she just pretty much stayed in Grasso's guard and just stayed with good posture. and she had her elbows and her arms in. So like Grasso never really had control of her elbow and had her arm extended and wrist control on her arms. That's the thing. You got to worry about the wrist control when you're doing doing triangles, arm bars and stuff like that. You got to have wrist control first. Then you stuff that arm real quick, wrap your legs, and then you try to adjust and do what you got to do because you got one arm in, one arm out, but you have one arm all the way in. She never really had it like that because she was throwing her legs up, just kind of flailing around, trying to go for stuff. I get it, but it was just she wasn't controlling the arm enough, so there was no real danger there, because Shevchenko was had good enough posture, where she was just pulling on her arm basically, and it's going to be hard to pull someone's arm when they're just sitting there tight in a good posture to pull their arm away from them and force a triangle or force an arm bar. You got to have that arm already, and then you throw your legs up. And then cross them and do all that, and then just work from there, make your adjustments to get the choke tighter. But the arm is the first thing, and Grasso was kind of just reaching a lot, and she wasn't really doing much. And if you notice with Grasso, like no lateral movement, she wasn't switching stances as much. She was kind of just coming in and out, like either she's going backing up or she's coming in throwing punches. And Valentina was able to time that. Kind of reminded me like GSP back in the day. She even threw a Superman punch like GSP. Kind of reminded me of that, like where you don't know what he's going to do. Just throws a jab out there. When you think he's going to wrestle, he's throwing jabs. When you think he's going to strike up top, he's ducking under and getting that wild-time double leg. And you kind of tell even by the posture of Valentina, just her stance even, because usually kind of stands a little more straight up and kind of like inching backwards, trying to counterattack. And this way you could tell she was a little bit leaning forward a little bit more with her stance even, like just waiting to change levels, waiting for Grasso to come forward and time it, dump her, get the double leg, dump her. And she didn't really advance position too much. She had Grasso in a couple of attempts and submissions, but didn't really do any ground and pound. They didn't do, like I said, she's a kickboxer turned into a wrestler. And I mean, it was easily the most boring fight on the card. I mean, hats off to her. She's champ again, but it literally was the snooze fest of the fight. We had a couple of people here that were asleep during that fight and one was like, "It was already gonna be a 5 round. I already know. I'm gonna take a nap," and he called it. TJ called it. You're right on that one to take a nap on that one because nothing happened. And that disappointed me because I picked Grasso to win this fight. I thought she would have learned from the first two fights that okay, I need to shore up I have a hole wrestling takedowns. Takedown defense. That's all she should have been working this camp. She already has a boxing advantage. She has a pretty good scrambly jiu-jitsu game, when she's, in those type of positions, favorable positions where she could do some stuff. But she literally had a hole in her wrestling game and didn't seem like did anything about that. Like I would have brought in like Tatiana Suarez or like some other beast wrestler, even GSP or somebody, someone who has great double legs. She could have done all that. And just sure that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought, that's the one thing that she could work on for sure is to change up the outcome of this fight, different from the other two, is sure up that wrestling takedown. She has zero takedown defense. If it was the video game, her takedown defense would have been zero almost. I mean, Valentina landed like 8 of 12. I mean, she stuffed a couple here and there, a few like 4 takedowns throughout the fight, but every time Valentina did get her down, she controlled her. She had like 15 minutes of control time at least. That's like 3 rounds right there already. After the 3rd round, it was already over. Like basically, Grasso needed a finish at that time, and Valentina just kind of kept playing it safe, stuck to that game plan. Game plan worked, but it was a fight that nobody wanted to see. Like the matchup. I'm glad the trilogy is over, but it ended up being that everyone wished they didn't see it. Like it went from we didn't want to see it to we wish we had it because it was that type of boring snooze fest of a fight, but. We got a new champion in the women's flyweight division. Once again, Valentina Shevchenko. So we'll see what happens, what's next for her. And that'll bring us to the main event, which I also got wrong. But this actually went in the way, if Merab did win, this is how it was going to happen and exactly what happened. And I think we kind of knew from the first round on. The first round was kind of competitive, like Sean landed a couple good shots here and there, O'Malley. But, Merab was still able to get the takedown kind of with ease and hold him down a little bit. And then take him down again, I believe. So like a mat return type thing. So once that happened, it was like, oh, this could be a long night for O'Malley. It was just a little too easy for Merab. And Merab obviously he's a machine. He'll never stop bouncing around, jumping. He's, probably a little bit tougher to hit than O'Malley thought. But O'Malley, I think his game plan, he was looking like, I have power. I have big power. All it takes is one shot. All I got to do is hit him once like he did with Aljo. But honestly, I think he should have mix it up a lot more, throw the jabs, make Merab make those mistakes, hit him with the jabs, hit him with those teeps, which will come into play later in the fight. Make Merab make mistakes, the feint games for sure, but throw a lot of jabs out there, mix it up, throw some combos, stick and move. It seemed like he was looking for the one shot the whole fight, and he just never really connected with Merab like that. He did land some shots. It was a lot of people were hating that 48-47 scorecard on two of them. I think I could see that. The third round was close, but I could see how they gave it to O'Malley. He busted up Merab's nose, stuffed some takedowns. He did okay in that round. I mean, he did a little better. So I could see them leaning towards O'Malley in that round. In the fifth round, for sure, you got to give to O'Malley. Merab didn't do much, and that's what I was talking about before with the teep kicks. Like O'Malley, maybe the last 30, maybe like a minute of the fight, he landed like a body kick where you could tell like a straight teep, kind of like what John Jones did at DC. Like if he'd have took a page out of that book, because Merab was kind of coming forward like a Khabib or a DC, reckless abandon, just smothering type of style. If he maybe could have landed some more body shots, I think that was a weakness that kind of got exposed, but it was a little too late. Like O'Malley was able to land like a couple good body shots, teeps, and I think he might have landed a punch there too, and you could tell visibly Merab was hurt. Like he crouched down like kind of like he shit himself real quick, like oh, and then he was running around the cage after that, and really just O'Malley kind of ran out of time. He started letting off, but teeing off on him a little bit, so definitely O'Malley won that round. But I mean, if that happened earlier in the fight, who knows what would have happened. So I mean, that's something that O'Malley could build on. Like obviously work his wrestling takedowns, but also not be so like I think just too much reliant on his power and really because usually Sean has a lot of volume. He's throwing a lot of combos out there. He's mixing it up. He's like he pieced up Chito. He was really just outworking him. He allowed Merab to outwork him and land more shots and not really throwing as much. I think he was just too dependent on the one punch power, and I think that's a shot you don't see coming. But if you're just telegraphing or getting too predictable, then Merab could just do that all day as long as he don't get hit with nothing too big and just keep bouncing around and doing his herky-jerky stuff and trying to get for takedowns and hold. It wasn't the most exciting fight either. I mean, it wasn't as boring. It was kind of like almost Khabib-ish. Like I felt like he kind of Khabib O'Malley a little bit, which, just with the pace and just constantly in his face and kind of just relentless attitude, like nothing's going to stop him. But I also feel like it wasn't the most entertaining fight. Like, it takes two to make an entertaining fight, and I think O'Malley kind of like just was a little too, like I said, a little too much. Just too much game plan was I'm gonna knock this guy out as soon as I touch him. I think it just, I don't know, maybe he just was a little flat, whatever. Just didn't bring it. I don't know. He did have moments in there. It wasn't domination, but like the rounds that Merab won, it was definitely dominant, but it wasn't like a 5-0 shutout with other people. Not in my opinion. I feel like I could see Sean winning 2 rounds in that one. But Merab did win big in the rounds he won, so obviously. And, he kissed him, did all kinds of weird shit. He was arguing with Sean O'Malley's coach, with Tim in the corner, and where Herb Dean had to step in. I was like, what the hell's going on, man? Why are you stepping in? I was thinking, he shouldn't be paying attention to this guy in the corner. If he is and he gets punched, that's on him. But, well, whatever, they stopped the fight for a second, put a timeout, and called a timeout and was like, hey, knock this shit off, whatever. So, Herb, I didn't agree with that. I felt like if Merab's going to be distracted by what's going on in the crowd and he gets cracked, that's on him. He should be focused on the fight. But it is what it is, and we got a new champ there. Obviously, a new matchup, Umar, Khabib's cousin. He's going to come out. And that'll probably be the next fight, which that'll be a great fight, because both guys are well-rounded. Umar's probably a better striker, and he comes from that Dagestani wrestling background. So the grappling of Sambo, and then we have Merab. They both will have insane cardio and pace. So that'll be a crazy fight whenever that happens. But, but overall, a great night of fights. Like I said, the co-main and the main weren't the best, the most exciting fights. The rest of the card was great. And there were a lot of them weren't names, like names that we heard of, not household names anyway. But great matchup. And I hope they do another Sphere card because I didn't go to this one. I should have just been like, I knew about it for a year. He was talking about it since last year, last Noche. I should have been like, man, I'll just, whatever I got to do, save the money or just, I could have still did it, pay some payments, Klarna, Firm, Afterpay, whatever the hell, made it happen. I should have just did it. But I'm kicking myself for that now because they might never do another one like that. So hopefully the UFC does do that. Hopefully the people will want to see that again because it looked like an epic show, just amazing, crazy show that you won't be able to see again ever in any type of sporting event, So, yeah, that's all we got. Let me know what you guys think. We'll see what's next. I mean, we had, what else do we have? Obviously, Charles Oliveira, Mike Chandler, tired of waiting for Conor finally, and he's going to fight him. I think it's at Madison Square Garden in November, which is a rematch, a great fight. Chandler was almost killed freaking Oliveira in the first round, and then gets dropped and TKO'd in the second round in their first fight. So, I mean, that was obviously a barn burner. I mean, everything. Chandler's always an incredible, exciting fight. So definitely want to see that. So Bo Nickel against Paul Craig was announced also on that November 16th card, the John Jones and Stipe card. So that's another one that's an interesting test for Bo Nickel because you got a submission guy, and he's obviously a wrestler with good submissions himself. So that's a good test for Bo Nickel. That's finally kind of a name up there that he's going to go against. But, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, subscribe. That's all I got.